Hey guys, good to have you. We have with us today the executive team, and together we want to address some of the questions that you may have about the reopening on August the 2nd. And I don't know which screen is which one. I'm not good at playing Brady Bunch on this thing, but Pastor Mark Reynolds, Executive Pastor of Business Operations, and Pastor Tim Hastings is our pastor over all of our ministry staff as well as small groups and about 7 or 8 other things he does all the time. And I guess, Mark, really, you're mostly a construction pastor right now.
That's it. We got a lot of construction projects going on. Literally got roof replacement above our heads right now. So there's a lot going on.
So the truth is, a lot of folks, since they're not coming into church, aren't aware. But man, there's a lot going on in this shopping center right now, construction-wise. And so there's what's kind of cool is that by the time we reopen, a lot of folks as they come out are like, whoa, there's something, there's things happening. So that's a really cool thing.
There is.
Well, I want to take some time and go over some of the most popular questions or most frequent questions that folks are asking about the reopening. And so the first one, and I think is most important, is you always start with why. So why is Oak Ridge reopening? I mean, why not? We have a great online service. Why not just stay online? And the answer to that one is because the church was established to be the physical presence of the spiritual community of Christ. And that is, we are the hands and feet of Jesus. And the truth is, we need community. Christianity was not content-based. Guys, you already know the truth. You can get better sermons and better music just by getting on the internet. But content is not Christianity. Community is Christianity. We need to be together in presence. And so we've been waiting, and some people, I think we've been locked down so long, some people forgot that it was supposed to be temporary. This was not supposed to be something we're going to be locked down for the rest of our lives. We need to be open. And so we need to get back together. The second question, most frequent, and you might have been your first one, is, hey, I thought we were waiting to phase 3. I thought we were going to wait for phase 3 until we were fully open. Why reopen now? And actually, that's a great question. It's a little bit complicated, but we originally were hoping that the roadmap to recovery that Governor Hogan introduced would follow the clear 3 stages from the document. We were looking at that very carefully. I know if you're a business owner, you might have looked at that, but if you're not a business owner, you may not even be aware of what's in there. But we were kind of hoping that that would be more clear. But as time progressed, what we found was that we were adding like subphases on the fly, and no one really knew what would open and not open in each of these new announcements. And so we just decided, hey, it has changed. The goalpost has changed for some of the requirements as well as the reasoning. And so it just seems like we need to get this thing open. And many people may not even be aware of the fact that many churches have already been meeting. The governor declared we can open at 50% occupancy levels. That started back in June. We just simply wanted to wait a little longer, hoping that we would continue to progress to the phase 3, primarily on the basis of the good numbers. Now, I know a lot of you are watching a lot of media and you're going, good numbers? I think the whole world is dying. Well, be careful, because don't qualify what's happening somewhere else like Florida or Texas or California and try to put that regionally. You really, especially with COVID, you need to be looking at local numbers. And that's what we've been doing. So the executive team meets with the advisory board about every 2 weeks, and we go over the numbers, look at where we are, and talk about what makes sense. And so because the numbers have been good in Wicomico County, and because churches can meet, we decided it's time to meet. And so who should come when we meet? Well, just what you've been hearing on the news. Who should come? Those who are healthy, you're fever-free, you don't have any flu-like symptoms, you have not been exposed to someone who has tested positive for COVID-19 in the last 2 weeks, and especially you have no chronic health conditions or health concerns that would make you feel like, that you might be exposed and that might be at risk. So those folks, if you haven't had any of that, you're good to go. You should be returning, and you're probably already doing a lot of public activities. Who should not return? just exactly the opposite of everything I said. If you're poor health, you're immune compromised, you've had a fever, flu-like symptoms, you've been exposed to someone in the last 14 days, all of those conditions, or you're at a age that makes you put you in a vulnerable at-risk category, then I would say you should continue to worship online. And you shouldn't feel any pressure because we're reopening. We expect that to go in short, slow stages, and that's okay. And if you're, by the way, even if you're just not comfortable, you say, well, Pastor Brian, I know you're opening and I feel like I should be there. Well, don't stop saying the should word, but do what you think is comfortable and right decision for your family. I believe in American individual freedom. Amen. And the fact is, we have the freedom to make decisions that you think are best for you and your family. So don't feel bad if you're not wanting to return at this time. You should return when you're ready, but we're going to reopen because we expect that it's going to take a little bit of time to do that. What are we doing here at Oak Ridge to maximize safety? Mark, you want to talk a little bit about some of the things we're doing facilities-wise that'll make it a safe environment for folks?
Yeah, I'll be glad to. We've been doing this ever since even before we opened up for the broadcast studio. As soon as we have any gatherings, we work with the local company, Critter Getters. They come in. We have some chemicals that's CDC approved for disinfecting, and we do that right immediately after we meet on Sundays as far as the broadcast audience. We've been doing that since really day one. So we're going to continue to do that. We're going to try to do that in between the service times. We're going to wipe down the door handles, and we're going to continually check the bathrooms and continually keep them clean. We have our custodian staff on standby to do that all throughout the services. They've been doing that as well. So really, our teams have been ramped up and just practicing over these several weeks of broadcast audience in order to be ready for when we open. We're all constantly on the market buying the products we need, because that becomes a challenge. It's a full-time job for the facility staff to track that stuff down, but we feel well equipped, and even enlisted some of our former volunteers that help with keeping things clean. They're ready to roll as well, and they're anxious to get back into it. So you'll see that in between services, even during services, some of the sanitization and stuff going on.
So there's a ton of changes that have been made that are going to accommodate a greater, safer environment. Water fountains will be closed. You can still get water or coffee, but the cafe and the way that we deliver that has been changed to be able to create a safer environment. And then the biggest change that you'll notice is that when you enter the venue seating has been already pre-spaced for maximum social distancing. And so you'll notice immediately that we've created enough space where we won't even be able to do the 50%. Even when Governor Hogan said you can meet at 50% occupancy, with spacing, you can't do 50%. If you maximize your spacing, then it's more like about 25%. So we've moved chairs around and created a maximization of space so that people will be able to have all the social distancing in place. Some of the other things, we created a touchless environment for the service itself. We won't be passing offering plates. We've changed up the entire bulletin procedure. There is no bulletin. There's a message notes connect card that's all in one. It's actually pretty cool. So hats off to our admin team, because they did a phenomenal job at putting that together. Additional hand sanitizing station. Anything I'm missing, Tim?
Yeah, we're also going to remove all lobby furniture so folks can't congregate there. Another thing, if you've been around Oak Ridge for any length of time, you know you're going to probably get a hug or a handshake when you're walking in. All of our volunteers know that we're not going to be doing that, but they will have big smiles under their masks. So another thing our volunteers are going to be doing is wearing masks just to ensure safety as you come onto our campus. We want to make everyone feel comfortable as they return to church, but we want to do it in a way that is going to keep everyone safe, and everyone, hopefully, that may be still on the fence on returning to church, once they see that what we're doing around here, will return and be a part of our Sunday services.
So one of the things we'll ask is that when you arrive, some things that'll be different. We're going to ask you to leave a space between your parking, where you park, and one space between each of the cars. So just, again, doing some social distancing there. We will ask you to wear a mask as you enter and as you exit. But once you're seated in the venue, just like a restaurant, we say you can remove your mask while you're seated and while you're in your seat. But if you get up for any reason, we ask you to put your mask on and make sure that we do that everywhere that we're moving about. Also, there'll be no family ministry at this time. We're going to phase in family ministry at a later time. We will have both the live venue and the theater venue open, and we'll run at the 9 o'clock time slot and 11 o'clock time slot for now. And we're hoping that'll hold us enough seats to be able to maximize. We can do about, I don't know, about 40% of our normal weekend with those two time slots. But if we see that number starts to rise quickly, we'll have to go back to the 9, 10:30, and 12 o'clock services in the morning. 6 p.m. we'll continue to broadcast online, and we'll continue that service as well. I think that covers most of the changes that they're going to see when they come in. Now, some folks have said, oh, why not family ministry? When's that going to open? Well, the truth is, it's hard to set a date for when we can open family ministry when right now, so many parents are looking at the school systems to give answers about what's safe for kids to be coming together. And many parents think of that as just another program environment. So family ministry is hard to operate when people haven't seen a normalized reopening in a program environment somewhere else. So right now, families will be free to gather in the venue, in the live venue, in the theater venue all together. And then we'll just have to see when we're ready to be able to open up family ministry. And then some people said, well, Pastor Brian, I don't know if I feel all that comfortable, with the taking off of the mask. Should we be doing that? Well, to be very, very clear, there's a couple of things important to understand. First, according to the Roadmap to Recovery document and the CDC guidelines, masks are only recommended, they're not required. And so understanding that our faith requires expression of who we are, we know that about 90% of folks have told us and are very clear that mask is a deal breaker. And they're like, hey, I'm just not going to come back until I can do that. And even in the broadcast audience, the first week that we said, okay, you can remove your mask while you're in your seat, they literally gave us a standing ovation. They're like, ah, it's like we got free, yay! And so the fact is, we know that some will not be comfortable with that decision. We're comfortable with that decision. We feel like most people who are healthy and fit the good to return category are already interacting in a lot of public environments anyway. And so we expect that the folks that should or good to return are fitting that category, and they'll be perfectly comfortable in that environment, able to do that. But as always, anyone who says, man, well, can I wear my mask? Yes. Should I, or I'm not comfortable doing that? That's fine. You do you, and don't feel obligated either way. But we just feel like, opening without, with required masks is really not going to be a good opening. And I think that's what people are looking for.
Yep.
Yeah. Number 8, aren't churches a hotspot for spreading the virus? Some folks have mentioned to us, should we open up, because I'm hearing this on the media, and unfortunately, sadly and regretfully, most media reports about churches being a hotspot, or I've even heard the word super spreader, is extremely misleading. Most of the information that is derived from that was from the earliest days of COVID, when churches were taking into account no safe practices at all. And so certainly under a condition where you're not doing anything to control an environment at all, you would expect some spread there. That makes sense. But attending ORBC safe service environment is as dangerous as going to Walmart. So if you can handle that, you probably can handle coming to us, and it's no more dangerous than any other public environment. So our advice is, if you go out on that, you're free to come here and be a part of that. Another one, should we wait until there's a cure or a vaccine? Well, let's just be crystal clear, and you should do a little bit of research on CDC. There is no cure for COVID. By the way, COVID-19 is a new expression of an already existent virus set. That needs to be understood. So it's not like it came out of outer space on a meteor or something, okay? So it's not going to be cured, but the best case scenario would be a vaccine and improved treatments. Now, the good news is we're already getting super improved treatments for COVID. That's happening every day. By the time we even release this, they probably have released another cure methodology and treatment for folks who have contracted the COVID virus. So the increase of positive outcomes of folks is increasing better by day. And I know you're hearing on the news constantly how the vaccines are moving through trials and moving into final phase. That's great. All that's good. But as a pastor, as a truth-telling prophet pastor, I have to be honest enough to tell you, guys, you know that in best case scenarios, vaccines are typically 40 to 60% effective at reducing risk. So please don't fall in the mindset you think there's some miracle cure and then you can come out of the basement. That's not realistic. That's not a realistic scenario. So vaccines are not a miracle cure, and they will help us to feel more comfortable. But most of this is kind of psychological, emotional. It's that sense of, is it okay? And we've been hunkered down so long, it's intensified that fear of resuming normal life. But guys, I'm just telling you, we need to start moving back into normality. Now, Connect Cars has changed, and I mentioned the way that we do that. But one thing that we will be doing is that we'll be asking every week when you attend in person that you fill out a Connect card and give us your contact information. I know you're saying, well, you always do that. Yeah, but but many times you ignore us. And here's what we're going to say. Please do that so that when we do have someone who attends who turns up COVID positive the next week and tells us, we can tell you. Say, when? I thought you meant if. No, when. Okay. So the fact is, as we go through life, eventually, everybody's going to be exposed somewhere, somehow, sometime. And so the fact is, filling out the Connect card gives us a very clear channel in a specific venue at a specific time to contact the folks that were there and let you know that you were there. And then it's your choice. If you decide that then you would like to get a COVID test yourself, then that would be great. And you can do that, okay? What would cause us? This is another question. Hey, Pastor Brian, I don't want to see us open and then have to close back down. What would cause us to go back to just online only? Well, we are going to continue to monitor every single week. We're going to monitor our in-person services. We're going to monitor the local statistics for the COVID vitals that we look at for Wicomico County every week. And it's our plan that we will remain open following all safety protocols unless we become directed by state or local authorities or mandated to close. And they would only do that, obviously, if we were in some sort of national statewide or local, outbreak or hotspot spread. But we just don't see that to be something that would happen here in Wicomico County. Obviously, anything can happen anytime. And obviously, we will comply with whatever we're asked to do by authorities. And then finally, so what will we do when an attendee, actually somebody turns up COVID positive? Well, we're going to use that Connect card. We're going to contact the folks. We're going to work with the health department following their guidelines of notification. We will then do an additional deep clean procedure. The facilities team is already aware of how to do that. And then the services will continue following that unless we have some sort of designated widespread outbreak. That's all the questions I can think of. Anything you guys can think of that you would add or any comments?
Yeah, I think Brian is also, as a comfort level, is, one of the things that helped guide us along as well is that the city of Salisbury lifted their restrictions of 50 or more people just last week. So, I mean, that was a comfort feeling for us as well to say, hey, city of Salisbury is monitoring, and we're in the city limits. They're monitoring the stats and what's happening as well. So they must have felt comfortable enough to say, hey, city, we're not worried about the 50 or, the restriction of 50 or less people or, or 50 or more restrictions. So I think that's a plus that people should look at and say, hey, our local folks are in tune as to what's happening. And the second thing I want people to know too is we're invested in this online platform. So if you're one of those categories that that don't feel comfortable coming out, we're continuing on with the online. We'd love to have you here because community is so important. But also know we're not going to go backwards on our video broadcast.
Yeah, I'm really glad you mentioned those two things. I wanted to mention about the 50 or more being lifted. And I also want to say, man, we learned a lot. We connected with a lot of the churches that had opened weeks and weeks earlier and learned a lot from them. So we've been doing our research behind the scenes just to how to create the best environment possible for when we do open. And so a lot of what you just heard Pastor Brian share is things that we've learned. We've also contacted the health department to make sure that we are just following all of these procedures to make sure that we have a safe environment upon your return. And like Mark said, man, if you don't feel comfortable, and like Pastor Brian said, if you don't feel comfortable returning, man, we know that and we love you, and we're still going to provide a rich online experience so you can enjoy church. But man, we do look forward to the return, and we will get through this. But man, we want to continue to provide hope in this community, and we feel that we got a good path moving forward, and we just look forward to seeing you guys.
Amen. So as always, two things: go to the website, rbc.net, look for the reopening, and then click there. And then there's all of the Q&A information and better is presented there on that webpage for all of these questions if you want to refer back. And also, if you have questions that you think we haven't covered, or comments or thoughts, please do not hesitate to share that with us. Don't feel bad. I had one person came and shared with me some thoughts and input, and they said, hey, I want you to know I'm completely loyal, love the church, love you. I don't want you to take this the wrong way. And I'm like, no, you should listen. We love you, and we value everyone's input, no matter who you are, no matter what it is. We want to hear from you. But we also want you to know that we don't make decisions lightly, that we actually as a team use our advisory board, and we talk to our strategy team as well as our full staff. And so we get a huge level of input as we make these decisions, because we do believe they are serious decisions. And even though I did kind of a lighthearted video, because I'm excited to reopen, because I want to see you, actually, I'm feeling excited about that. I miss seeing all of you. Please know we take every bit of this very seriously, and we're investing thousands of dollars to make sure that you're safe and that we have the safest environment possible so that we can come together in community and love God and love one another. And that's what it's all about. So guys, we can't wait to see you, and we'll see you very soon, August the 2nd. Peace out.